Howdy y'all, welcome to Nerd Studio. Hey, we're out on the back deck tonight because we're going to do some stir fry. You know, I'm a nerd. I'm just not a nerd about computer stuff or guns. I'm a nerd about everything I do. And one of those things I tend to obsess over is cooking. You know, a while back I did a video on how to cook a tri-tip steak, so I thought, what the heck, I'd take you along while we do our outside stir fry. We're out on the back deck basically because we need a cooking implement that will really get hot enough to do a proper stir fry. And to do a stir fry, you really need to get your wok pretty hot. Now, we did a little test with a skillet in the house. Let's take a look at that. I've taken to stir frying outside because you can't really get the temperature on an electric stove the way you would on gas. And you know, there's times I've had a gas stove and that's great, but we don't have it here. So to demonstrate that, I've got a stainless steel skillet here, and I put it on our electric stove. I'm going to show you just how hot that can actually get. To stir fry, you really need the heat. So let's take a look at that. So you can see we're getting about 315 degrees, and that's the max. So there you go, not going to do it. Well, that's why we brought our stir fry outside. And it's really one of the reasons that I liked moving to North Carolina, or I wanted to move to North Carolina, because you can be outside more of the year and you get a chance to do things like this. So let me take you on my journey doing a little stir fry out on the back deck. Okay, we got 3/4 cup low sodium soy sauce. We've got 1 tablespoon of wasabi powder, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of mustard powder, 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar, a tablespoon of lemon juice, and a tablespoon of lime. And so I'm just going to whisk that up. Okay, we're going to cut up our meat. I'm going to show you a little trick I like to use for the cutting board. We like these flat plastic cutting boards, but man, when you cut on them, they slip all around. So what you do is you take a damp paper towel, put it under it, and this helps too if you're, so it doesn't slip, or it doesn't slip much. This helps too though if you're if you've got drainage off your meat, it'll help pick up some of the mess. You always want to make sure your knife is sharp. Well, this isn't a knife sharpener, it's a honing tool, and it realigns the edge of your blade, so you're not actually removing anything from the blade, which is the act of sharpening. You take some metal off and you sharpen. This just realigns it back at the right angle. And I find, first we're going to cut chicken. So I find it's like chicken's like any other meat, and I think a lot of restaurants even miss this. When you're cutting meat, you want to cut it against the grain. So the grain on this chicken breast is running this way. So I want to do my slicing this way to make sure that the chicken is the most tender. And you know, chicken breast is really tender to begin with, so I don't think people often think about it. So I'm going to make sure my thin cuts are across that. And it'll make a difference in your stir fry. I've been to some restaurants and you go, well, they had somebody that knew how to cut the chicken breast because it was nice and tender. It's even more important in beef and pork, but don't skip that in your chicken. So we got some really nice pieces of tenderloin that we've kept from another dinner that we bought a little extra. So we're going to use that in our stir fry tonight. But you can use top sirloin or you know, any of your strip steaks, skirt, and you know, I mean, you could even, you just want to use something that's tender and not something that takes low and slow cooking, like, you know, chuck or a brisket or something. So this unit is basically just an outdoor burner. It connects to your barbecue gas cylinder, and it has some nice tines that really fit the wok well. Some of the things that really make walking easy is this implement. This is referred to as a shovel, and basically it's got the right shape to fit into the wok, and you're going to see why that's important as we cook. All right, let's fire it up and get her done. So you want a nice blue flame. So that's already over the temperature. We're already at 364 degrees. That's already over the temperature that we were in the stove inside. So we're going to start with our vegetables. We're using peanut oil out here today because it has a higher smoke point. Basically, it's going to take longer to get to the point where this oil will flash and start a fire. And trust me, folks, if you leave this oil sitting here, it'll catch fire. So you got to be careful while you're doing this. We're starting to smoke. All right, let's get to cooking. And this is why it's important to have this shovel. You want to keep this moving. That's the key to stir frying. You're stirring. These handles will get hot, so you want to use something like this UV glove. All right, to keep it from getting boring, here's a few gratuitous shots of me shooting an AK-47. Here's why a hand-hammered wok is important. Notice how all the vegetables now have sat up on the side for me. This gives me room to put the meat in. And don't be afraid if you need a little more oil, it's okay to add it. That's going to heat up really quick. You want to use fresh vegetables, because if you use frozen stuff, it just will boil and the flavor will never get right. You'll never get the right texture on the veggies. Alright, there you go. You got stir fry. We're going to go eat it, and then I'll come back and talk to you. Alright folks, there you go. Dinner's done. We're full. It was good eating. Well, a couple of things to finish up here. Most of us in the house have type 2 diabetes. We only really have my son that hasn't been diagnosed, and thank God he's only 4. And hopefully we can sort of head that off at the pass. It's a scourge in America today. It's really what's led me to really change my eating habits. I lost 82 pounds, and our entire family is on a drive to eat better. It's part of the reason that you see I'm not using cornstarch or flour or anything in this stir fry, and we really don't eat a bunch of rice and stuff with it. In fact, I eat very little, just trying to cut the carbohydrates out, not because we're on some crazy carbohydrate diet, because that's not good for everyone. But if you're a diabetic, you've got to really watch what your carbohydrate intake is. So this is great because the marinade that I'm using doesn't have a bunch of carbohydrates in it. It's all vegetables, it's all meat, and it really helps you in that regard. So there's my plug for eating better. I've lost 82 pounds. My goal is to lose about another 70 or so, and I'm going to get there. It's part of the reason I'm doing these cooking segments, but also because I love to cook and I'm very nerdy about it. So there you go. The other real great benefit of a wok is they are actually really easy to clean. I'm going to turn the heat back on here in a few minutes, run some water in it, scrape it down. If my nonstick coating starts to flake off, I just rub it again with oil, put it back in the oven, and bang, you can rehab the nonstick coating right on there. So it's a great cooking implement, and the Chinese really knew what they were doing. All right. Always remember, anyone can walk. Anyone can walk and have fun. We'll see you next time.